Hey guys, welcome back, National Fire Radio. Here today, Rob and I, the crew, Tucker and Sebi, we're here today at Ragtop Industries and Capital City Fire Helmet. Pete Callan with Ragtop, Ashley Shapiro with Capital City Fire. It's nice, guys. It's just a little wave. It's good. Say hello.
Hi. Hey, everybody.
So listen, this is one of those interviews that I really enjoy because knowing you guys, but not knowing the whole story is why we want to fill in the gaps today. And you guys have become good friends, and we value your friendship and your contribution to the fire service, and we're going to get into all of that. Pete and I have known each other a little bit longer. We did some work back with you when we first met. And then I had met Ashley through the merger here with Ragtop and Capital City, and so Ashley, I'm proud to call you a friend and a brother, and it's great learning your story today too, and meeting your father earlier today, and so on while we were at the shop. But what we want to do with this, as we sit in this cool furniture, Pete, give me a little vibe on this furniture real quick.
It's mid-century modern.
Nice.
Kind of like my thing.
I got it.
Kind of an oddball, so I like oddball furniture. No, good friend of mine owns a furniture finishing company. Specializes in mid-century modern furniture. It's an art no different than it is refurbishing a fire helmet.
Yeah.
So when when I told him we were moving into the new store, new storefront, everything, and we we're gonna have a little day room area. He goes, what do you need for furniture?
Awesome.
So we came together. We have a couple more pieces coming in, but this way, if you're coming in and get your helmet fixed, or you're coming to get sized by Ash or something like that, and you can just hang out in the chairs for a little bit.
I love that anybody else in business would be like for our lobby, but we're firemen, so it's a day room area.
It's a day room, yes. It's a day room.
It's not only that, Rob, but it's also the uniqueness of it too, right? And that's exactly what we're doing here with Ragtop and Capital City, is preserving the uniqueness of everybody's fire helmet.
Right.
I love that. I mean, it just kind of fits the theme. So I kind of want to roll into it. Pete, we've known each other for a while now, and so on. So I know some of the background of Ragtop, but maybe you could just give me the chapter 1 through chapter 10 of Ragtop, and how it came about, and how you got to the point before you got here with Ashley and Capital City.
Sure. So 10, 11 years ago, all these things always seem to happen by accident.
Right.
A good friend of mine. He retired as deputy chief out of New Haven. He's chief of Swansea, New Hampshire now. Bill Gould came to me and said, hey, you fix fire helmets, right? And at the time, it was at my volunteer house, and it was just plastics. And
messing around?
Yeah, just literally just putting some screws in back and forth.
Right.
Well, I got this leather, I need it fixed because, the wire's showing and the chief doesn't want it in servicing. I said, okay. Because you know how to do it? I was like, oh yeah, definitely. No problem. I can definitely do it. I had no fucking idea what I was
That's how it always starts, right?
No idea. So I spent some time researching and things like that, and figured out how to do it. And at the time, it was, PC7 epoxy and, one shot enamel paint, pretty basic. But so I did it and gave back to him, and I guess it was good enough. And another guy he knew called me, and another guy he knew called me, and another guy he knew called me, and then this guy's friend from Boston called me. This guy's friend from New York City called me.
Right.
So I was actually out training for the Air Force in Coronado Air Station, California, and I was sitting in my hotel room because I'm in the Air Force, so we get hotels, and building a website. I went home and started building a shop in my basement and started, taking on this piecework as more and more people called. There was a online forum, ctfire-ems.com, that was big at this point, and I made my little announcement of, oh, look, check this out, look what I can do, all that other stuff. And Ash had reached out to me and was like, hey, pretty neat what you're doing. I'm actually doing the same thing. So it was like, at this point, nobody knew what helmet refurbishers were.
Yeah, right.
It was a very quiet, like, word of mouth thing. And for two to happen in the state at the same time, almost the same, he's been in the business longer than me, but kind of a public almost at the same time.
Yeah.
And,
well, let's hop in there, right? So Ashley, give me, first off, pump operator of the tactical unit down in Hartford, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Been a fireman for many years and following your father's footsteps, and it's in the family business. And so Hartford's a tough city, a lot of firefighting going on there, some hard work,
Yeah.
and so on. How did you fall into the fire helmet business?
Well, I used to ride with my father growing up. And, you know, like a cop has his gun, a fireman has his helmet,
I
right?
love that.
That was
Yeah.
their story. So I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. These helmets look nice, and they all have their different features of them. And then I got in the academy. I didn't really know the history of, like, MSA buying Carnes or
Right.
whatever they're doing now. And when I graduated, you know, they gave me this helmet. I'm like, what the hell is this fucking thing? You know, it's a turd.
Right.
I was like, this isn't what my father has. And I'm looking at his wall, all his collections, like, this looks nothing like that, and something's got to change. So I started tinkering.
Yeah.
I changed all of the brass out to the retro brass. I changed the brim shape. I mean, I took some lumps at work for modifying,
Standard issue, right?
allegedly modifying gear, but
Yeah.
I wanted it to look the right way, the old school way. And the same thing, word of mouth. Hey, can you do mine? Hey, can you try this? Yeah, you paint helmets? Like, now I do. I don't know. Give it a shot. So I bought like 2 or 3 helmets on eBay and just I tinkered, tried to perfect the craft. And then actually Matt Firestone from Signal 50 Industries back in the day, I kind of reached out to him. I was like, hey, you know, are you still in business? What are you doing? Can you give me any pointers? And he helped me out. He helped me get off my feet. And
This was like an OG guy? Like, I don't know who is it?
this is going back before.
Yeah,
Okay.
This is
2007.
probably
Okay.
the first guy in the state of Connecticut to actually refurbish helmets.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Give me a time frame, like year-wise, like.
It's over a decade ago.
Yeah.
Okay,
Probably.
all right. So like
2000,
2000?
2010.
Okay.
Beginning
Gotcha.
of the century.
Yeah. Yeah, he's I forget where he works. Sikorsky?
Yeah,
Pratt
Whitney. Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, he was very generous with everything. He helped me out as best he could. You know, try this, try that. Here's some parts. I mean,
And he was tinkering too, but he was
he was kind of on his way out the door with the helmet stuff.
Okay.
So he's like, sure, take the reins. Like, I'll always be in like good graces with Matt. I always thank him for that. you know?
Yeah.
And then same like Pete said, we were on the forum. He put up his work. I put up mine. And like, hey, how you doing? Another kid on the block, you know?
I actually remember the first conversation we had, like feeling each other out, like, oh,
Yeah.
You do
Yeah.
this,
Right.
You do that,
Right.
You do this, you know, how do you do that? You know, kind of felt each other out a little bit, and you know, we agreed to meet up one day because I forgot how we got on the conversation of the 880. This is back in like, so this has got to be like 2011,
Okay.
It may have been before that.
2010, 2011.
Right.
You know, I'm pretty like sporadic. You know, like squirrel runs by and I'm off in a different direction.
What?
Ash is pretty grounded.
Yeah.
You know, so we came up with this idea that we wanted to put a brass ring inside an old, you know, early '80s, '70s 880.
Okay.
Right. We put the leather system, liner and suspension, everything into the inside of a plastic 880 because it's an awesome helmet if you know you need something for burning or training, things like that. And so that's what we did. We spent an entire day up at his father's house,
Right.
in the garage shops, you know, and we just started screwing around.
Well, there's some should be something said for that too, right? It's like you guys both very, very humble beginnings of tinkering around and then starting to, through word of mouth, starting to get more regular work coming in just from people saying, hey man, I'd love for you to update the suspension of mine.
Right, and I think the biggest thing in business, to be successful in business, is you need a good support system.
100%.
And so that's kind of what Ash and I worked for each other over the last 10 years until we merged and still are, is we didn't have anybody to talk to that was fixing helmets.
Right.
You know, there was no money that was really giving up the secrets or giving up, you know, what it was. So a lot of stuff we figured out on our own, and we ended up developing our business models so that we did not compete with each other.
Yeah. But you blazed the trail together.
Right.
Which I think is a cool story,
Yeah.
right? Is that, you know, a lot of times in not just the fire service, but anywhere, it's always instant competition and instant,
Right.
you know, hair stands up in the back of your neck and you become guarded,
Yeah.
right? You
Yep,
become
yep.
very protective of what you have, and then you try to feel out the, like you said, right? Your first interaction was like,
Yep.
let me see what this guy can do, let me see what I can do, you know, and
Yep.
and so on. So that's an interesting conversation for sure.
Well, I think we just hit it at the right time, you know. As you probably know some of the names, you know, there's guys that were refurbishing helmets long before us. Carnes used to run an academy that was like a refurbishment academy.
Oh, is that right?
Yep, and
Okay.
they taught you how to do everything, and then they stopped that because, you know, we live in a liability world, which sucks, but whatever. So there were guys that were doing it before us. We just hit it at the right time. social media was getting big.
Yep.
There really wasn't a lot of people out there that were our age that were doing it and were able to take advantage of social media, word of mouth, things like that.
I have to think it was a regional thing too, because
Right.
being I grew up in the fire service and then becoming a firefighter myself for 25 years now, and up until social media, Instagram, Facebook, I really didn't know there was helmet refurbishment.
Neither did I when I started.
Really?
Like, you do a Google
Talk
search.
about that. Yeah.
There was maybe, again, Signal 50 would barely pop up because Matt was on his way out of doing it. And then you had like the helmet doctor it was like the main page of a website. You
The
hit
helmet
next-
doctor.
Yeah, you hit the next button, use the old 404, like can't go, don't pass go or whatever.
Right.
And then there was a guy out of Florida on like a Tumblr page or something, so there was really no information.
So this is
out
There
years
was
ago.
a small blip in a firehouse or fire engineering forum or something like that.
Mhm.
That was like, one-shot paint and PC7 epoxy, and that's all you need. Brush it on. I mean, we started brush painting helmets. I mean, that's how we used to do it.
Yeah.
We one-shot paint,
Brushing the
brush.
rain in my bedroom.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
That's wild. But I mean, that's I think too. Like that's part of the beginnings that makes it work, right? It's like you have to have those struggles and you have to have those learning curves. Like you said, nobody was handing you the keys to the kingdom and saying, "This is how you do it, kid. This is how you repair a helmet. This is how you build up the leather. This is how you paint it correctly," right? Like
Right.
nobody's teaching you guys that.
No, I had a good foundation from Matt, but beyond that, I had to teach myself how to paint.
Trial by fire, right? Like
How to do repairs, how
Right.
to sand a helmet, like a lot of this stuff you just buy product and figure it out.
yeah.
And then there were times when him and I would meet up, like, hey, what are you doing for paint? You try this paint, I'll try ours, let's put a torch to it, let's see what works better. Let's try stripping a helmet this way or that way.
Right.
And then we both perfected the craft to the point where, all right, now you can do your thing, I'll do mine, if I'll step on each other's toes.
Right. With that mutual respect and understanding that if Ash needed anything, you're there. And if Pete needed
At this
anything,
point, we ended up becoming good friends.
Right.
So
through the process.
through the process. So it was always the intention of, we always just kind of modified our agreement so that, and our gentleman's agreement of how we were gonna operate, so that we were never really in direct competition with each other.
Right.
And we used each other. I used them for retro brass because
Sure.
that's a skill in itself. I actually don't even know how to do it, and I have no interest in knowing how to do it. He has that covered, right? And when it comes down to, the flat blacks and kind of some of the more modern day innovative type stuff,
Right.
he sends it, he tries. Yeah, it irks him sometimes, I'm sure, when he has, some of the retro stuff intermingling.
Mixing
with
the two, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
modern
right.
stuff,
Right.
He buys every time.
But, we figured out how to work and how to kind of blend both companies, so.
But and that's so the merger, right? So
Right.
you guys are forging your own paths. In the background, talking and managing and figuring things out together in a way, right? And forging your own way.
We knew this was gonna happen. I mean, we probably started talking about a merger.
5 years ago.
Yeah,
There were
5 years
times I
ago.
called you up, I was like, how the hell can we make this work?
Right.
And he tossed around ideas, and then he sat on it for a year, and then
Yeah.
he calls me up, all right, how do we make this work?
Right.
Just back and forth.
But
Well-
I just want to say, like, the merger, like, people think of a merger, and usually a company disappears in that. So, like, it's also, like, sometimes it's hostile, right? Like, a hospital takes over another hospital system, and then that old community name is gone. What's been interesting about today is we've had the experience going through Ragtop when you were in your old shop
Yep.
and seeing that craft. And today, I didn't know what retro work was on a helmet, and there were things that I knew was wrong with my helmet, but I never understood why. And that was something, when you talk about cutting the brass and custom fitting the brass, because every leather helmet is just a little bit different because it's made by hand and it's got this process. Like, I was blown away by that, but the cool part is watching these two separate businesses come together and they coexist. But now you're even producing out this awesome product because, you said you don't know how to, do the brass stuff. That's fine. I mean, but like that happens here is pretty fucking cool.
What ends up happening, you guys are all business guys, so you guys know, what ends up happening is, I started in my basement, right? And my wife and I bought a new house, and she was like, no way are you having a shop in this new house, our pride and joy new house. So I was like, ah.
Man, do I get that conversation a lot? No
Right.
way. Yep.
So,
Yep.
so I had to find a a new place.
Of course.
So I found this, 800 square foot mezzanine that ended up working really well. So now you introduce overhead.
Which, yeah, but sometimes is that pushes what you need.
Right. So you're in this constant game of chasing the overhead. Right. So now
Absolutely.
I have to increase my production to cover my 800 square foot overhead. So now I'm working on that for the next however many years. And this is how it's going to get to where the merger happened, is that I needed to increase my volume, I needed to increase my productivity, and then I assumed payroll. And now I have people working for me
100%.
that need a paycheck every week. I'm their paycheck, and so I was chasing that. So now I need to increase, but now I've grown out of 800 square feet. So now I need to find something that's bigger.
How do you, I mean, that conversation is really telling me that it went from a hobby, small-scale business
Oh yeah.
to talk about that, because I think so many people, right, not just in the fire service and guys with, jobs on the side and so on, but a lot of times people are hesitant to take that jump. Or take it even further and say, how do you not fall out of love with the passion you have for this, because it's become real instead of something that was a smaller part that you were head over heels in love with, right? When you were tinkering in your basement or painting, you did it for the love of it. Like you love the. How do you not lose track of that when now you have 3,000 square feet and you have retail and you have employees and you have insurance and HR and payroll. These are those things that and so I think what happened too is, knowing the story a little bit, is that's what kind of brought you guys together as well. No?
Well, I had kind of invested a lot of my efforts and energy into infrastructure.
Right.
At the same time as trying to, so I wasn't really, there's not a lot of money in helmet restoration. For all you guys that are out there, that there's not a lot of money in it. So just stay in your basement. But I had kind of invested into infrastructure and things like that, where, Ash was the one-man show.
Right.
He did everything. You know what I mean? And
100%.
no, it was him. I've had Mike's been with me for 6 years now.
Yeah.
Only 6 years.
Right.
And he was, sorry.
Yeah, we're good.
So, getting him,
Mike, yeah.
was in place. So I started having it in place. Ash just invested basically into himself, which is, there's nothing bad to be said about that. Just we ended up kind of doing different models. So
We have a good support system.
Right.
My silent partner for the last 10 years has been my old man, but my biggest support has been my wife.
Right.
When she's heard me bitch for the last 10 years.
Sure.
I think I'm tired of this shit. I think it's time to move on. You sure? I don't know. And she's helped me with some of the tax stuff or
course.
invoicing. So
Right.
she's, like deep suspension, she used to be the one that stitches them for me.
Is that right?
Yeah. She'd help where she could, but I was still doing 95% of the work.
Sure.
And it beat the hell out of me.
I bet.
And we had our conversations all the time where we would call each other up almost monthly and be like, "That's it, I'm done. I'm shutting down. I can't deal with this anymore. This is going wrong, and I can't deal with it." And, so we were used to that. We'd call each other and
Just the vent.
vent and everything like that.
It's nice to have somebody that understands.
So right. Like I said, we didn't have anybody else to talk to
Right.
that was going down this path. Any of the guys that did weren't really open to talking. It was like a really well guarded secret of how everything was done. So it's not like there's a fella down in Baltimore area that was doing some good amount of work. I would say.
I remember him used to paint the custom flags and the brims and whatnot.
Right, and he would. He was kind of like it. He was like the guy, and you just couldn't get anything out of him.
Yeah.
And that's something you'll see all over the forums and like Facebook and social media and stuff like that. Is you'll see somebody say, "What kind of paints do they use?" and and then it's like nobody will answer the question because
Right.
it's just like
But-
kind of a guarded secret.
But I think though too, and I think it needs to be said, and people have to understand that you guys have put in years and years of sweat, blood, tears to build your IP, right? Your intellectual property. What you've put in, and your tried and true methodology of figuring out the right way and the wrong ways, right?
Right.
You should be allowed to protect that, 100%.
Yeah.
And this is a proprietary process that you
And
guys have had to figure out.
99% of the time, everybody that asks us a question is completely respectful.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Right.
99% of the time.
Right.
So it's just how the industry was. So him and I were able to actually talk to each other.
Right.
You know, and
It's almost like a mutual mentorship.
right.
Because
yeah.
really that's, what happened is that, and especially with the support between, because like the conversation that I like to hear about one day is the whole, like, what got you to the point of being like, I'm ready to
Oh,
quit.
he can
and then-
tell
Well,
that
that's,
story.
let's go. Like,
You can tell that story.
For the merger, why I decided,
Oh, at 50
why I
bucks.
conceded. You go to ship out a helmet, and, usually it's like $25, $30 with insurance. So I was like, oh, fine, yeah, and pay for it and whatnot. And come to find out, the rates changed. As you're paying for it, the rates are already changing.
Yeah.
So when I already tell a customer, hey, it's only going to be $20, I checked into it, and the rates changed. Now it's like $55.
for shipping.
Yeah, like the
Right.
fuck, just cutting all my profit. Because like he said, there isn't a lot of money to be made on this unless you're pumping out volume.
Right.
And you can't pump out a lot of volume to the point where the quality suffers too. So you gotta take your time. So I happened 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Like I'm fucking tired of this shit. I don't want to deal with invoicing, shipping, emails, or any of that bullshit that stops me from doing the work.
The business stuff.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'd rather just do the work.
Right.
Because that's how it started.
And what you enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So that was it, huh? Damn postal service.
$50, yeah.
Well, I'm laughing because I'm sitting at the firehouse one night, right? It's a Sunday night, and he calls me up and he goes, "That's it, I'm fucking done." I was like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "What now?"
Yeah,
You know what I
right.
mean? Like,
Yeah, right.
What now? He goes, "No, I'm serious. I'm fucking done." I was like, "Oh wait, like really?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "How are we gonna do this partnership?" And I was like,
That was it.
"So wait, what happened?" And he goes, "I lost $50 on the shipping this that." And I'm laughing because I'm like, "Look, I blink and lose $50." You know what I mean? And I just laugh and walk away. You know what I mean? Like we couldn't be more polar opposite
Right.
from each other.
Right.
And so then he goes, "No, I'm serious." He goes, "Let me run this idea by you. Your infrastructure system you built is exactly what would
I
benefit."
need. Yeah, right.
that's what he needs.
Absolutely. Yeah. The whole back end. Right.
And just having him in there, for me, having him in the shop, and earlier this year, my second son was born, and then 2 weeks after my second son was born, my oldest son broke his femur
Right.
and was in a half body cast for the summer. And listen, family's first. At the end of the day, family is what's the most important thing.
100%.
So he was able to step into the shop and just assume my role
Right.
and able to keep the shop going, you know what I mean? Because, he has the knowledge and experience of what we've done for the last 10 years. He was able to just walk right in and the shop kept running.
Yeah.
And I was able to focus on my family, which is,
Nice.
that'll just show you what our relationship is,
100%. Yeah.
But, yeah, so he said, no, he goes, let's talk about this. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna do this? Your infrastructure system, my business model. I can help out on the restoration end, because he missed it. You lied. Don't lie. You missed it a little bit.
But you guys also, but you complement each other very well too, because
Right.
it's two different aspects of the process as well,
Right.
right? So,
Right.
which I think is why this probably works very well, and why your relationship always worked well.
Well, now that now we're 9 months into the merger, and our roles have certainly changed from what we thought
Yeah.
they were going to be and how we thought the business was going to be. And I really enjoy the business end of it. I'm not really so much hands-on with the helmets anymore, whereas
Right.
Ash is more hands-on with the helmets than me. But I do the back end of it. I do the business. I do the problem solving.
Yep.
We come up with a business idea, a business problem, and it's my job to come up with a solution.
I can't imagine though, everything is peaches and cream,
No, of course not.
right? I mean, with anything, right? You have, in the fire service is a funny thing, right? We're all alphas.
Yeah.
So, you were doing your thing for so long in your home, you're calling 100% of the shots. You're calling all the shots in
Yeah.
your shop. You guys finally both had enough, said, let's do this together under one roof. You got two companies under one roof, because you are still two companies, correct?
Right, yeah, we were two
right?
separate
So
companies.
you're still
Yep.
two separate companies, yet you complement each other so well that it's under one roof now. And so, with that though, there has to be some friction every once in a while. And
We have our blowouts.
Of
You know what
course.
I mean? But at the end of the blowout, we can circle back in 5 minutes.
because of the mutual respect.
Right, because we respect each other.
Right.
So
Partnerships
I
are,
can respect- yeah,
partnerships are tough.
I can respect his position, he can respect mine. We
Yeah.
gotta come together and figure out what's gonna be the best decision, because at the end of the day, things change when you have employees that depend on the money they're making from you
Correct.
to put food on their table,
That's
to
right.
pay their rent. It's not about you anymore.
It's a
It's
whole
not about
nother-
me. It's not about what I want
It's a
to
whole
do
nother
here.
game.
It's about what's the best decision that's going to be for Sabrina, who is full time.
And I think you're 100% right, just coming from the business world as well. I also think it parallels the fire service really well because I'm a firm believer that the boss works for the crew.
Right.
And the crew doesn't work for the boss.
Right.
And I look around this room with Lee and Rich here and a couple of the other senior guys, which we'll get into the dynamics of your shop in a few minutes, but with the senior guys, right, you look at that and you think about a district chief or a deputy chief, they work harder for the men and women than the men and women should be working for them. And it's kind of the same philosophy here, it seems like, that you guys work for your employees, right? You work for everybody that's here
I
in the
can't do all
courthouse.
this work by myself.
Correct, right? 100%.
So,
100%. So let's talk about that. You got a tremendous amount from the day we met, probably 2.5 years ago, Pete,
Yeah.
to now. There's a lot of new faces and a lot of new people in this shop.
So what happened is you know, we thought it was just going to be business as normal. You know,
Right.
we thought,
I thought I was gonna be driving down to the Woodbridge twice a week, throw some brass on, see you later,
Yeah.
you know?
Open
you
a
know,
mezzanine,
he was-
turn a screwdriver,
Yeah.
operate the drill, I'm out of here.
he was doing his, you know, thing. He was like, look, I'm doing this many helmets a month. I'm just going to move that many helmets a month down to your shop. I'll work a couple days a week, month maybe, and, you know, we'll be good.
Yeah,
And I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. You know, I got, you know, at this point I had Mike and Dan and another fella that were working at the shop. You know, pretty small. And I had one girl that started, Jules. She was the first
Right.
admin girl. And,
Right.
you know, so we thought all of a sudden, you know, we're like, huh, a lot of orders are coming in. And I was like, I mean, it 2020, we went after the merge, was a completely unmanageable growth in the business. It was 100% unmanageable for the growth of what we, and in the middle of a pandemic.
right.
You know, I mean, we didn't know what to do. You know, I mean, you know, we didn't know what to do.
Why?
We just, well,
Me, for instance, when I was ordering helmets just by myself out of my house, like, I would do 10 to 15 orders a month. And that's not receiving, like, I would just say, okay, I get 10 to 15 requests, so I'd put the order in to a dealer or whoever. And then I'd have to wait and get the helmets in. But 10 to 15 grew to 30 to 40 overnight. And, you know, the first month that we ordered helmets, it was like 30 to 40 plus like 10 to throw on the shelves just in case.
Right.
Second month in, I was ordering 90.
but the numbers
I
never
ordered a-
stopped.
No,
Right.
That's the thing, the numbers never stopped.
This month I ordered 149.
Helmets.
Yeah. And they're gonna
Wow.
sell.
Yeah, right. Now, I think what's cool about that, right, so to educate, well, I want to talk about a couple things, but to educate everybody listening and watching, and people that really don't know much about, you do the restorations, but you also do new helmet sales with the retro,
Well,
right?
that's what Ash's business model is.
Correct. So talk about that real quick, right? When you talk retro, Rob hit on it before, the retro division, right? What, basically, Ashley, like, give me just a little background as to, like, what you do.
So, what I do is instead of going to, you know, all hands at the fire store and buying a helmet off the rack, you know, this is what you get, this is what you're stuck with.
Right.
Give you the option, like, you can get traditional retro brass, hand fitted, or, you know, the blacked out brass, hand fitted. But, you know, brim shape your choice as long as it's functional. Borks, no borks, trim of your choice, low on the helmet, old school, and I'll fit the helmet to your head. Medium or large, linear flaps. You want short or long, you want the ratchet, no ratchet. So, kind of like how it was back in the day driving a Jersey, you get a helmet fitted to your head.
Right.
I give you the choice of buying a helmet the way you want it.
I love it.
Retro style though.
Yep.
So,
Yep. I think that's, I love that, right? Because so many people, I can't wait to hear the feedback from this episode because I think so many people don't even know that's a possibility.
Well, I think that was what we talked about because I didn't really understand what it meant, you know, and I'm like thinking of some kind of like new definition of retro, but when like he described, and we did it before in the long form content of breaking the helmet down, like getting that deep seated harness in there, or suspension in there rather, and just like overall, like right as he's saying it, these are problems that I knew were there, my brain was so scrambled, it didn't quite make sense. And then he's like, so just as an example, you you can use Tucker's helmet. He's got this traditional, or not traditional style, help me out here. Eagle. Like now, when it comes into the retro, he's going to cut this for the helmet so it fits on perfectly. But one of the things that I never realized was that the helmet shield that's always here is always coming back in, because this is a one-piece fits all, and that's where that custom work comes in to making that happen. And if you can, like, I mean, if you're spend the money and get something that's going to be good.
Well, how about, like, we talked about this before, and it has to be reiterated, right? Like, you're going to have a 25, 30-year career, hopefully, in the fire service, right? This is your signature.
Yeah.
So when you get it up front, like Ashley said, when he got hired and they gave him a stock helmet out of a box and said, here's the next 30 years, here's your helmet.
Yeah.
It's a piece of crap.
It
Doesn't fit right. It sits slanted on my head. The suspension's too high.
Even the wrong
right?
size.
Wrong size. Yeah, it doesn't matter, right? I heard Rich was sharing a story with me the other day about that. Right, here you go, kid. Good luck with your career. And they're like, the thing comes over my eyes. I can't see. There's no concept of, personalize and make it yours. And I think what you guys are doing here is very much that is, we are individuals in the fire service, and you want to personalize and represent who you are. So I love that.
Ash, can somebody come here when you're in the shop and actually sit down with you and make sure that everything's
Yes.
right?
Yeah, actually, I encourage it. I mean, there's pros and cons to it because it takes me away from what I'm doing in there, but I still work out of my shop in my house, so
Right.
the work gets done either way. But honestly, if you want the helmet to fit right, take a drive. We'll make it work.
Well, that was kind of the big push for this facility. Was we knew we were gonna get to a place where we are now. We just didn't know how fast it was gonna come, and we want to create somewhat of a destination. So somebody can drive in, they can see the shop, they can see the guys working, they can talk to Ash, they can talk to me. Any questions that they have, put a face to everything, and we're starting to get all of our collectibles and all our stuff hanging on the walls, so people can kind of see like a little mini museum for Connecticut firefighting with like New Haven, Hartford, things like that.
Yeah, I love
it. So it's a destination spot for somebody to come to.
Excellent greeter today.
Yeah, excellent greeter. Rich is the greeter.
I think the point of that too, right, Pete, is that this is a place where people want to come.
Right.
When guys, I know when Rich started working here, because Rich and I are dear friends, and he said to me, he's like, it's enjoyable. It's like I get to go there and hang with people that I enjoy telling stories with, and hearing about the latest fire and talking about the latest thing on National Fire Radio and all those things, right? And like the best part about that is you surround yourself with like-minded people and great things happening. So this building, so the merger, you guys then get the square footage to represent what you're doing.
Yep.
And I can foresee you guys outgrowing this place rather quickly as well. But it is a destination, and I do encourage you, if you're within a couple hour drive, of making the point of coming here and seeing what you guys are doing. Because what you are doing is, really capturing and creating a storyline for the individual, giving the person their own personality in the fire service with the retro division, while maintaining the integrity of the tradition and culture through your own helmet when it needs a refurbishment and so on. And I think what you guys do here, you complement each other so well, and this merger really was a no-brainer. And to sit here today with you guys and the chat and so on is just a real honor for me, and I can't wait to share this story. I do want to know where we're headed and what we're doing, right? So, I mean, you guys, the one thing I love, Pete, you and I, we'll get on a phone call, and next thing you know, it's 50 minutes into a phone call, and we're still talking about the first thing that came to our mind, let alone the 15 other things that are already
Really called it out.
No, I know, right? Well, for me, growing a business and dealing with the business stuff day to day, I get the same feeling that I do when I'm on a rig going to a call and I see a header.
Yeah.
It's like, yep, we're going to work.
Nice.
I get that same feeling.
Yeah.
So I can't sit still. So I'm going to try and grow the business at a pace where we still don't lose our small shop feel,
Right.
but we're providing more for the rest of the country. I mean, by no means are Ash and I in the industry, but there seems to be in the last 10 years, the helmet refurb industry has kind of created itself through social media. There's, you have, Jason from Rekindled, you have NorCal Lids and Lettering, you have some bigger names, guys that are putting out like a serious product.
Right.
And there's no money in reservations at all. So how do we keep the shop going? How do we keep it continue? So I think Ash and I are kind of moving into, without, letting too much out of the bag, I think we're kind of moving into more of a support for the industry.
Yep.
Where guys that are running their restoration shops out of their basement, because why do we stay in our basement? Because that's how we make money, because we don't make money when we have a shop. Gives them the ability to continue doing what they're doing. And we'll be there to kind of support them. That's kind of the direction
That's
that
great.
he's going. So
That's great.
in a lot of different ways, with what we'll have available.
Yeah. I like to, and where I was headed with that also, Pete, is just the fact that like there's no standing still. I mean, you're constantly when you look at entrepreneurs and you look at people that have a passion for what they do, and this just kind of reinforces where I was heading before about does it become, do you fall out of love with what it is because it's getting bigger and bigger? But I think we all kind of have the same commonality to the effect that, we want to push harder and work harder. We still love the process. We love all of it, and it's just grow it and build it and make it more yours,
Right. It's I already have 6 ideas just from talking to you today since you've been here about where the company might go in the future, and like I said, I get that same feeling,
Yeah.
That same adrenaline rush. And,
I'm the same way.
Ash is he just likes to work more. So
Right.
It's funny, like the bigger a pile of helmets he has to work on, the happier he is.
Well, when you go from 15 a month to 149 a month,
Yeah.
you're trending in the right direction. As a business guy, you're trending.
Yeah, it would appear so.
I love it.
No,
What? Go ahead.
I'm kind of looking at everybody that's here.
This is awesome, by the way. But just if you're listening or watching, like we have just an awesome group.
Totally
Watch it.
surreal. Totally
Yeah.
surreal. And
Yeah, very cool.
the hardest thing about owning a business or managing a business is personalities,
Right.
right? And if you don't have the right personalities working together, the whole business is affected.
That's right.
And when I was in high school, I worked in a place called Joe's Auto, and I always said that's what I want to get back to, because I was there when I was off, I was there when I was working, I was there on the weekends. I mean, my whole life was the place. It was a bunch of awesome guys, and we just shot the shit every
Incredible
day, drank
environment.
coffee,
Yep.
awesome environment, and just
Mhm.
you learned. And kind of looking at what we're sitting here now, it's like I'll never replace Joe's Auto, but if I can get as close to it as I can, then I'll be happy. And
100%.
and just seeing like our staff and everybody. I mean, these guys. I'm not like a boss. I'm always running around with a cup of coffee, like asking how everybody's doing. Just
I think there's a tremendous amount of respect and mutual respect in this building, and from everything that I've seen. And every time I come here, I meet somebody new, and it's just like a different face and a different name, but the same level of care and desire and want to be here.
Right, and we were growing so fast. Ash and I had to really discuss. Like, I've had to let a couple employees go this year. Is absolutely
The downside of what we do.
one of the worst things I've
Yeah.
ever had to go through. And but once those personalities don't click in the shop,
That's right.
it throws the whole shop off, and it affects your entire business. And that's, I think, the biggest thing we've had to learn is Ash and I really had to sit down and talk. Like, all right, what are we doing? Where are we at? What are we doing? Mike's the shop manager, and we've had to have those conversations of that. So I think and what we have now is everybody that's standing here watching us, making me uncomfortable, is they're pretty much here to stay.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a fantastic crew of people, and without them, there's no this.
And it should be said. I mean, you have firefighters, military,
Yep.
right? Retired military, and so on working. So it's all like-minded people. But what I love about it is you go from the probie to the deputy chief.
Right.
And
Well, that's
all-
kind of the interesting thing. I think we
Right.
touched on it a little earlier when we were filming the other stuff.
Right.
Is you got district chief here.
Yep.
Retired senior tour commander there. Ash, is on attack and drives. He's been on 13 years. I've
Right.
been on New Haven 7. So there's a wide range, so that like say Chelsea or Dan or Pat, they're kind of young into their careers. Imagine being able to go to a place and just walking up to a guy that's got 28 years on, who's a senior tour
priceless.
commander. Another actively serving, 20 plus year chief. Plus, you got Ash, 13. He's halfway through his career. I'm at the, first, third of mine.
Right.
And then all the people that walk in.
Yep.
It's they can go to any of those people and it's just an unlimited resource.
On a first name basis,
Right,
on a relaxed conversation
Right.
level. I mean, I could only think about, being able to work next to guys that have experience like that, and just being able to chew the shit with them is just priceless.
Right. No. It's where it's gonna find.
And that's the environment here.
Where
I
else
mean,
you
and
gonna
that's
find
why, talking about this as a destination, that's why you want to come here. While we're filming right now, a guy came in to drop his helmet off.
Yep.
I was like, you should have hung out. I don't know if he's still here. You should have hung out. Like,
Right.
pull up a cup of coffee and,
Buy a
I mean,
shirt.
that's, yeah, buy a
Buy
shirt.
some apparel, please. I gotta keep the lights on this month.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we were just talking. What if when COVID hit right when we were going to do the merger, right when we delayed it a month, and we finally said we're like, look, we got to pull the plug,
Gotta
we gotta
do
do it. And imagine if we had waited.
Yeah.
Imagine if we had waited.
Yep.
And we would not be sitting here right
I
now.
think
I'm sure.
I think it's important to talk about too. Is that life always throws something at you. When the time is time, you got to move. You got to move. You got to make a decision to move. And
That's the thing about being a business, is that
right,
when do you pull the trigger?
right.
There's never like this big
Nope.
light in the sky that says,
Never.
pull the trigger now.
Yeah, I
Pull
wish.
the trigger now.
I wish
You
there
know,
was.
You just have to go based off your feeling, and that's why Ash and I have been so successful.
Right.
Is that, and and yourself, and Rob is so successful is when to pull the trigger.
Yep.
You can't be afraid to pull it. I had no clue how I was going to pay for this building, but I knew I needed it.
Yep. I get it. I get it completely.
Sometimes you just got to pull the trigger, and you just got to go.
Yeah.
So
where are we headed? So we have we did a little recording earlier about the space next door
right.
and the square footage you have here. Do you want to go into that conversation a little bit? You want to talk about growing on and creating a venue for Division of Training?
Yeah, sure.
Right? So I mean, you guys, what I love is you guys are full of ideas, like we hit on before. And so there's always something that is brewing, and the next step with some of the senior guys that you have here in helping you put together a venue and training and education space here at Ragtop, Division of Training.
Right, so when I looked at this facility after I signed a lease, the landlord was like, oh, hey, come check this place out. So if you walk through the shop and you go through the back door and you take a left, it opens up to this like 8,000 square foot event center.
Yeah.
And immediately I was like, whoa, we just did the Let's Talk Shop, which was very successful. I could do Let's Talk Shop right here.
Mm-hmm.
And we can kind of combine everything. So the one thing I've learned being a business guy is you have to surround yourself with people that are good at doing what they do.
Right.
So, me and Ash are talking about it, and his father and Rich, they're the leads on it. How can I support you? What can I do? You
Right.
guys make the decisions, and
Right.
I'll support you whatever way I need, because there's no way I could handle it myself, or me and Ash could handle it together, because we have our hands full.
Yeah, I try to take some of the reins on it and give the old timers there some supervision, but I told him straight up, like, I'm delegating most of the duties to you guys.
Right,
And
right.
I'm not gonna say I have final say because it's gonna come across his desk and mine, but like we'll hit it as a team. But
Right.
it's on those two guys just because they've got the time and expertise. When he bought the shop space, I'm like, what the fuck are you gonna do with all this space? Right. And then
And now we're sitting here
It's
like,
filling up
"Wait a
pretty
minute,
quick, huh?
we need to knock some walls down.
yeah.
Yep.
Take
Well,
some of the event center space.
I'm looking at it like, what can we do? Not only to pay overhead, but like pay it forward back to the fire service. Like
Right.
we're already doing helmets. So what about getting some credible guys down here, do their teaching circuit or whatnot? So I talked to my father, like, hey, instead of having to reach out to a department, hey, will you host me? What if we just have it here? You use our networking,
Yep.
you use our space.
Right.
Everything's taken care of.
Yeah.
So he said, oh, sure, great idea. Then I went to Rich. Rich is like, I could already see where you're heading with this. I got a few things in mind. Let me make some calls. So it sounded like a plausible idea, right? So they hit the ground running, and then he showed me the space next door, and I almost shit the pants.
Yeah.
This is insane.
What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Right,
When you
right.
have the infrastructure, because I think that's where
Right.
a lot of people, like Jeremy and I, we were all having this conversation about some of the on-tap events. It's a logistics problem that you have to come up with a solution, and you have to have that network to be able to facilitate that. You have it, but
Right, right.
what's cool is you have it based upon this business, but now you're going to turn it into something that's going to get back to the fire service, which is
Right.
And it's also representative of what and who you guys are, right? This is going to be a space that you're going to pay it forward, right? This is a space where you're going to find like-minded instructors and training companies that can find a home here. that represent the values of Capital City and the values of Ragtop, right? And you
Right,
bring them
right.
in and you say, listen, not only do we do this, and not only are we preserving tradition, culture here with the fire helmets, but we also can offer this. We bring this also forward, which represents our core values. I love that. I absolutely love it. Good.
I'm a firm believer of leaving this place better than you found it.
Yep.
You know, whether it's here or at work, I'm always on my guys, let's do this, let's do that, let's train, let's do something. You know, but I told my father many times, why don't you write a book about everything you learned before you end up 6 feet under and then I don't know anything or half of what you've done with yourself.
Right.
At the job. Like, how can we transfer the knowledge over?
Right.
And same with us, like, what are we gonna do? You do a whole career and there's no way to tell people the same information and pass it on? Well, here's a perfect way to do it.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%, and that's what National Fire Radio was founded on.
No, right, as I say, that's exactly what you guys are doing, and that's exactly the contributions you're making to the American Fire Service.
We're trying,
You know?
we're trying.
And,
But
it's,
it's the stories and the
Right.
relationships and so on, and that's what we're doing here today. And I just, you know, I'm super happy and very proud of both of you for what you guys have built from your, you know, humble beginnings in your basements to where you are today with the crew that you have. I have to say that, you know, if you're anywhere near, you know, this part of the country, you need to come through here and experience this firsthand, because not only will you both and your crew take the time to individually get to know each person that brings their helmet through here, you guys are a curator of that, and you're preserving each person's career as it comes through, or starting a career with the retro division. I mean, you know, that is something after 25, 30 years, that retro division helmet is going to be hung on their wall of a successful career.
Yeah, no, I didn't think about that.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's
well,
wild.
it's even weird seeing sometimes, like, you'll see our helmets for sale on the internet. And it's like, oh, refurbished by Ragtop, or it's a 2018 CCFH retro, and it's just wild to see that. You're like,
Yeah.
it's like a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think
Where
that's-
for us, we're just, you know, we're just, you know, we're just doing what we like.
Yeah.
You know, we're just
Well,
enjoying ourselves.
And on that note, don't lose that passion.
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
we don't plan on it.
as-
For us, this is going to be, you know, we sat and talked. This is going to be a minimum 20, 30-year investment for
I
us.
love it.
Yeah, at least.
Good.
You know, everything seems to kind of happen naturally. You know, we have 5 years worth of ideas tucked in the back of our heads that we talk about all the time. You know, retro division, restoration division, apparel division.
Tools.
We're starting a tools division.
Yep.
Yeah, you'll see a manufacturing division
Mhm.
start. You'll see a lot of these divisions start and the company grow. I hope we never grow out of this place, because I still think it's big enough to do what we need to do, but it still gives us that kind of small shop feel, which we always try. I always try and preserve that. Somebody called me the Walmart fire helmets the other day, and I was like, I mean, everybody goes to Walmart, so is it that bad?
I don't know. See, right? Like you can play that either
You know,
way.
I don't know. I don't know.
You know what?
I mean,
You know what popped into my.
you know?
You know what popped into my head when you were just explaining that you don't want to outgrow this. You think that there's enough here and so on. And what I truly picture is that single bay like Rescue 2 in New York City or something, where the firehouse is 100 years old, and they have all the history of that company on the walls.
Right.
And then the department says, "We're building you a new firehouse."
Right.
And you look at that and you go, we don't want the new firehouse, right? We want to stay where we're steeped in tradition. We want to stay where the culture and all the stories were made. And I think that if you find this to be your home, I think that's super important, because you guys are not just a business. You're bigger than that. You represent the best of the fire service, and you represent those stories. And, you know, everybody standing around here today listening and taking time out of their day to listen to me blabber on. And the thing is very simply this, is that that's what you guys are, the foundation of what you do here. And so, you know, don't grow out of this.
No.
You know?
No, we won't.
Take what you're building here and
We
just
won't. This
make
is a
it.
nice spot for us.
Yeah, it's great. It's good.
You know, it's a mile and a half from my house.
I was gonna say, if we ever grow out of this, how about one more exit closer to mine?
There you go. I got
There
you
you
one
go.
more exit closer to your house.
good.
Just in the wrong direction.
Yeah, no.
Well, it is good to see you both laughing and smiling and enjoying what you do. I know you both work very hard on top of your jobs in the cities and with your families and so on. But I have to just say thank you for taking the day out today and having us here.
Yeah, thanks
This
for,
was
thank you for having us.
awesome.
I mean,
And
this isn't Jay Leno or anything, but I never thought I would actually be sitting here with your crew, so.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, I appreciate it, and you know, Rob made a comment about it before, and it's very true for myself, and I know the rest of the guys with the crew, is that you know we appreciate and cherish every guest we have because you're trusting us with your story, and so we have to be the steward of that to make sure that we represent and do that correctly. And so for me, I walk away from today. This is just an incredible experience for me, and to be able to share your story with whoever's willing to listen is just. You know, icing on the cake. It's fantastic. So, to a wonderful career on the job for both of you, as well as with Ragtop and Capital City and your crew here today. Thank you. You know, Rob, I just what a great experience.
Yeah, no, this has been fantastic. So,
Yeah,
Good.
as I
I'm
said,
glad you guys enjoyed it.
walked through and I just had this electric feeling. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
good.
Give
Well,
it 6
Pete,
months.
yeah. Well, we'll be back. We'll be
Still
back
gotta
for
get
sure.
this place, you know, done up right.
They got
So.
it. I mean, you don't even have a scanner on in the place.
I
We
know,
talked about
I
that
know.
before, so we'll get
It's
there.
a metal building. No reception.
But I will say we're gonna take it out from here. But Pete and Ashley, thank you on behalf of Rob and myself and Tucker and Sebi and the rest of the National Fire Radio crew. Thank you. We value you guys and your experiences and your business, and look forward to many years of hanging and telling more stories.
Yeah, listen,
So
thanks.
congratulations on your success in the merger, and I wish you nothing but the best in 2021. So
Perfect.
good.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
brother. Appreciate it. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Ed. Appreciate it, pal.